Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, January 5. I'm Anthony Lugg with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The tourist industry is mourning the loss of hotel mogul Gordon Butch Stewart. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett and the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association reacted to the news of Mr. Stewart's passing. More in this report.
Tourism has lost one of its key players, Gordon Butch Stewart, known for his marketing and building sandals into a world-class brand. Mr. Stewart, who was ill for some time, died Monday night in the United States at age 79. In reflecting on the life of the hotel mogul, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett describes him as an optimist who never saw failure.
He never sees failure. He always sees the opportunity for success and he goes after it. As a matter of fact, one of the little known facts is that he was investing during this difficult time. You know, he was still acquiring assets to invest. So he believed that difficult moments present great opportunities. So he was a source of inspiration to me as minister, and I could draw on him so regularly to get those gems that will help to build my own confidence.
Butch was highly respected as the conceptualizer of the most creative and innovative brand. I remember when I worked with him in the Bahamas, and a major brand that is well established now came over there, and they literally copied sandals. If you're going to copy something, that means it's excellent. And they went out with a marketing campaign to say, like sandals, but better. I mean, the entire Caribbean mourns an icon today.
Mr. Stewart was the founder of Sandals and Beaches Resorts and their parent company Sandals Resorts International. According to Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Stewart's contribution to tourism has significantly helped Jamaica and other Caribbean countries to make a global impact.
Gordon Butch Stewart has made an indelible mark in the annals of tourism times, and indeed, he has established himself as not just the standard by which entrepreneurship in this period can be judged, but he's established a brand that has become global, and it's also the strongest statement that small island states such as Jamaica can make great impact on global scenes irrespective of their areas of involvement.
The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association President Clifton Reeder also reacted to his passing.
JHK mourns Gordon Butch Stewart, OJ. The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association profited from this pioneer. His exploits, accomplishments were all well known. In terms of the development of Sandals Resorts, Beaches Resorts, I've worked for him for a full 10 years. And from the Beaches product, in fact, I was one of the first managers in the Beaches line of products. And I have learned so much.
But Mr. Bartlett is not dwelling on the sadness, but rather the inspiration from the life of the iconic tourist magnate.
It's a hard moment to say goodbye, but it's a great moment for us to draw inspiration and be guided into the future.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Both major political parties have hailed Gordon Butch Stewart as a visionary in the tourist sector and a remarkable entrepreneur. Mr. Stewart was also the founder of the ATL Group and Jamaica Observer. He also started the Air Jamaica Acquisition Group, which bought a majority stake in Air Jamaica in 1994. O'Shane Masters picks up that angle.
Butch, as he was known to many, is being hailed as a consummate professional and an avid businessman, died after battling an illness in the United States. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, in a post on Twitter, said Butch was a man way ahead of his time. He noted that Mr. Stewart had an eye for detail and his ability to market and deliver world-class service in any endeavor was tremendously distinctive. Mr. Holness says the founder and chairman of Sandals Resorts International has left an unmistakable mark across the region and the world. For opposition leader Mark Golding, Butch Stewart was a remarkable business leader, a tourism mogul extraordinaire, and a patriot. He also hailed Mr. Stewart's contribution in the growth of regional tourism. Among the many praises for Mr. Stewart is when he launched the Butch Stewart Initiative on April 14, 1992, to galvanize national support for the beleaguered Jamaican dollar. He announced that he would pump $1 million weekly into the official foreign exchange market at below prevailing rates to help halt the sharp slide in the value of the Jamaican currency.
The speculators are out there speculating and winding the dollar through the ceiling. And I said to some of the friends that I have that work with me, but this is madness. If you have speculators that are blowing the dollar apart, why can't you have a friendly speculator?
He also hailed Mr. Stewart as an astute entrepreneur with the development and investment in the Jamaica Observer newspaper. And Dr. Peter Phillips, former opposition leader, said Mr. Stewart was one of the great entrepreneurs of this era. He said Mr. Stewart was an expert at marketing and a giant in tourism. He said his name and brand are recognized in North America, Europe, across the region, and elsewhere. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And it's time now for a break. More stories when we return. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing the news. The Health Ministry has provided details on the British traveller who arrived in the island on December 21 and died last Sunday after testing positive for COVID-19. In a release last night, the ministry said the case was a 77-year-old male of Jamaican descent who lived in the UK. He was among the 301 passengers who arrived on the last flight from the UK before the ban was imposed. It said the man was in state isolation and remained stable until last month when he developed symptoms and was admitted to the Cornwall Regional Hospital. His condition deteriorated and he was listed among the critically ill COVID-19 patients. The ministry said he was not among the 4 cases with a variant strain of COVID-19 from the UK. In the meantime, the Health Ministry says the other passengers on the December 21 flight have ended their 14 days isolation and quarantine. They reportedly remain asymptomatic. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 death toll is at 305 following the UK traveller's death. In the meantime, Jamaica's COVID-19 case count has increased to 13,246. 43 new cases were reported on Monday. Their ages range from 3 months to 89 years. The Health Ministry says 84 patients remain hospitalized with a respiratory illness. 6 of them are critical. The Health Ministry says by next week, the country could see a spike in the COVID numbers. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa-McKenzie said this would be coming from the Christmas holiday period. For 2 days in this week, the country has recorded over 100 cases per day, a sign that the numbers have already started to spike.
We had put in everything to plan for a surge, and we're at the beginning of January. We're expecting that by the second week in January, the 7th going on to the 10th, 11th, we may be seeing any further increase based on the time period in December that we had more exposure.
One family in Wilderness St. Mary is trying to get justice for their son who was shot and killed near his home. According to the family, he was shot by a licensed firearm holder over a pathway to walk.
Around 5 p.m. on Sunday, 28-year-old Davian Barrett lost his life while walking near the home of a licensed firearm holder. The father of the deceased, Iswell Barrett, says while he was not present when the incident occurred, statements from eyewitnesses indicate that his son and the licensed firearm holder got into an altercation over a pathway where persons normally walk when he was shot.
When I hear the gunshot, believe me, I couldn't believe him because first he was down by the house. Yeah, just not too long don't talk to him mother. So me never think no, when me hear the shot, me turn to Vicky and me say, Vicky, hear there. Cause I tell her, I say, that is a gunshot, but me never really take it for nothing, so me leave out. By the time me leave out and reach in a Rokobesa, it's a phone call me get here, say my son get shot.
It's also understood that there is an ongoing dispute over the land which the licensed firearm holder is leasing. According to the grandfather of the deceased, the land belongs to his family.
The will stated that her father should live on that property until he died. After he died, the property should go to Harold Martin and Alan Martin, which is deceased also. So the property belongs to my brother and his cousin. She have no right to lease it.
It's also understood that Davian Barrett had mental health issues, and on several occasions, his mother sought help from the police.
The last time I came, it was about 2 months ago. And I asked for assistance to take him to the hospital, and they said they were coming, and I sat and I waited the whole evening until into the other day, and until today, nobody has still come to give me the assistance because they say they don't want to shoot him. And that's not their job and whatever. No assistance whatever in helping him with his unsound mind. And to really see this man really come and just take his life for really nothing in his own yard.
She is now appealing for the police to investigate the matter. Herman Green, TVJ News.
A 12-year-old boy who was hit from a bicycle in St. Elizabeth has the National Road Safety Council renewing its call for serious steps to be taken to address road crashes this year. The council representatives are disheartened as despite measures which were expected to reduce the numbers for 2020, the reduction is minuscule. Herman Green reports.
Statistics from the National Road Safety Council, NRSC, indicate that there were 419 road fatalities for 2020. That's less than the 440 for 2019. But it's of little comfort for NRSC Vice Chairman Dr. Lucent Jones. Dr. Jones says the council had expected that COVID restrictions would have had a greater impact in reducing crashes and fatalities significantly in 2020. But that was not so.
Especially in a parish like Westmoreland, which in recent times has had a surge of COVID-19 fatalities and the attendant lockdown. But when you look at the data, there's no significant difference. In fact, there's an increase in the number of people who died in Westmoreland in 2020 compared to 2019.
For this year, Dr. Jones is calling for a renewed focus on reducing road crashes and fatalities. 2021 has not started well, however, as among the road crashes on the weekend, a 12-year-old boy was hit from a bicycle on E3 Main Road in St. Elizabeth. Up to news time, details on his condition were still not clear. However, Dr. Jones believes for 2021, focus must be put on the groups with most fatalities. 137 motorcyclists were killed, 88 pedestrians, and 33 pedal cyclists.
Cumulatively, this vulnerable road user group accounted for 61% of those who died on our roads. And when you add private motorcar drivers, another 15%, and private motorcar passengers, another 10%, the figure really goes up.
In addition to the renewed focus, Dr. Jones wants to convince the public and policymakers to adopt what he terms the safe system approach used in other countries. This involves safe roads, safe speeds, safe vehicles, safe road users, and an efficient post-crash system.
But we have to do more than that. We have to also collaborate with civil society, peer associated business people, youth groups, and schools to promote the safe systems. We have to do all of these things together.
He's also echoing the call for a restructuring of the National Road Safety Council to be better managed and resourced to rectify road safety issues.
The mother and sister of 26-year-old Romeo Forrester, who was found dismembered in Tankley, Rockabessa, St. Mary on December 29, were yesterday charged in connection with his death. Javina Forrester has been charged with conspiracy to murder and her daughter Anne-Marie Forrester charged with murder. The case will be mentioned in the St. Mary Parish Court on Thursday. Mr. Forrester's brother, who was being sought in connection with his murder, was killed in an apparent reprisal. Alfred Forrester was found with stab wounds in a hut in Eden Park, Rockabessa, a day after his brother's remains were discovered. It was reported that the two siblings got into a dispute. During the incident, Alfred reportedly used a machete to wound his brother. The parliamentary committee set up to examine the bill to establish a national identification, NIDS, will have its full first meeting this afternoon. The bill was tabled last month with several revisions made to bring it in compliance with the law after a court ruled in 2019 that some of its provisions were unconstitutional. Member of Parliament Julian Robinson, who brought the court action on behalf of the opposition, says his side will be actively involved in the parliamentary revision of the bill.
We had a meeting yesterday amongst ourselves where we looked at the bill, we looked at some of the issues that we believe we intend to articulate, but we will be using the Joint Select Committee as the avenue through which we will articulate our concerns.
Now, Mr. Robinson says members of the committee will be going through the bill clause by clause in the first meeting.
The session will have a detailed clause-by-clause explanation of the bill, and during that process we will highlight the concerns that we have and make the recommendations. I don't expect that we will complete that process because I expect there to be quite a bit of discussion, but the process will start and, we will use that avenue to raise the issues that we have.
Among the revisions in the new bill is the provision for voluntary enrollment in the National Identification System. To other news now, Education Minister Favour Williams says there is no need for parents and students to be worried about the upcoming mental ability component of the PEP exam slated for February. Her comments come following some grade 6 teachers saying their students were not adequately prepared for the exam slated to begin next month.
Ability test is just that. It gives us a sense of where the child is. It alerts us so that we can adequately prepare them for the more important components of the PEP, which those parts will be had in May of 2021. So we're asking students, to try to relax. We want to test your ability, not necessarily your knowledge of the subject area or the curriculum.
In the meantime, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, has suggested that students repeat the year as a result of the significant learning loss due to the disruption caused by the pandemic. The Education Minister responded.
At this time, it isn't, but that doesn't mean that if it's something we should do, that we won't. Again, as students come back to school, as we do assessment tests and so on, we will know where students are. And if there's a requirement, then that is what will happen. But there's been no policy so far or no broad-based decision about that just yet.
Mrs. Williams was speaking with the media following a tour of Penwood High School this morning, one of the schools which have opened for face-to-face classes. To news overseas now, the U.S. state of Georgia is going to the polls in a vote that will decide whether President-elect Joe Biden's Democrats control the Senate. More than $500 million have been raised by the 4 candidates in this high-stakes runoff election. More from the CNN.
Each of you is going to vote in one of the most important runoff elections in the history of our country.
Georgia now at the center of the political world as Democrats Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff challenge incumbent GOP Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue respectively. At stake, control of the U.S. Senate.
The whole country is watching us right now because we have the power, Georgia.
We're on the front lines of this battle for the entire country.
The high-level stakes bringing in high-level campaigners for the final push.
Vote!
For President-elect Joe Biden, a pair of Democratic victories could aid in advancing his policy agenda.
One state can chart the course, not just for the next 4 years, but for the next generation.
While Republicans need at least one win Tuesday to put a check on Biden and the Democratic-led House.
If you don't vote, there could be nothing
stopping Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi.
Enthusiasm in the Peach State is high, with a record 3 million voters casting their ballots early.
People are taking it seriously.
Voters in this burgeoning purple state aware that they could help shape the political landscape for years to come.
To news in sports now, there are no immediate plans for retirement for West Indies opener Chris Gayle, at least not yet. The 41-year-old says he is still enjoying the game and hopes to continue doing so for the foreseeable future. More in this report.
Retirement is not the word that any sportsman wants to hear, especially those who are still at the top of their game. Well, that's the case with Chris Gayle, who has continued to dominate white ball cricket. But Gayle has hinted at retirement before. The problem is, that has changed with each interview.
Yeah, sometimes, some days I get different interviews and you get different feelings, you know what I'm saying? But I'm enjoying my cricket, I'm enjoying my cricket, to be honest with you. Just recently played the IPL in Dubai, did well. Now I have the T20. And honestly, I'm feeling good. I've been putting in some work. My body feels really good. And, once you're seeing the ball, good as well. So, yeah.
And despite not playing a test match in September 2014, which was against Bangladesh, Gayle says he's still available.
What? I've been waiting for that a long time, I'm still waiting for that test match, Yes, I do.
The T20 World Cup is set for November of this year in India, and Gayle says he's in touch with the coaching staff of the West Indies.
They have reached out to me. So, yeah, it's good news. It's good news. And I'm just getting myself in condition. I still have a lot of cricket to play. And I'm looking forward to the World Cup. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully give West Indies another T20 title. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
But Gayle says he is also available for games leading up to the World Cup.
Leading into a World Cup, you want to have a bond within a team, to have everybody to be ready, and then leading up to the World Cup, and then, we can gel together, So, yes, I'm looking forward to that as well.
West Indies are the only team to have won the T20 title twice. Renata Brown for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Anthony Lugg. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.